Welcome back to the Optimized Equine podcast. I'm your host, Tamara Lee Barrett, and today we're joined by Piper Klemm, PhD. Piper is the owner and publisher of the Plaid Horse magazine, but she has created more than just a publication. She's built a platform that provides educational articles, grants, and experiential learning opportunities for riders of all ages and levels. Piper's work bridges the gap between academic analysis and practical application, making complex equestrian concepts accessible to everyone from weekend warriors to avid competitors. Piper also hosts the Plaidcast, which has become North America's most listened to horse show podcast, bringing critical conversations and hunter-jumper industry insights directly to riders, trainers, and enthusiasts. Piper co-authored the Show Strides book series, which follows young riders as they navigate the challenges of horse showing while discovering that the power of horses and friendship matters more than any blue ribbon. Today, we're going to explore Piper's unique journey from a young horse enthusiast to magazine owner, dive into her vision for building a more collaborative and supportive equestrian community, and discover how she's emphasizing the importance of education and in-person connection in our evolving industry. We'll also hear about her personal relationship with horses and the valuable lessons she's learned from both the triumphs and challenges of her riding career. With that, I hope you enjoy the episode. Remember to follow, subscribe, rate, and review the show, and share us on social media. A little truly goes a long way, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today, Piper. Can we start by just having you tell us a bit about your background and how you made your way into this role?
Absolutely. Lots of winding roads, like most people's backgrounds. I grew up and at a friend's birthday party, I took my first ride, and my parents love to tell this story that the first ride, there were 30 kids lined up, and the second ride, there were 15 kids lined up, and there were 5 kids lined up, and then Piper, they're opening presents. No thanks, Piper. They're eating cake. No thanks, Piper. The ponies need to go home. And then there was just me riding and riding and riding. And from then, I begged my parents for lessons. I started with a barn that they found in the phone book in the yellow pages. And, everything's kind of happened from there. Like everyone, we didn't know what we didn't know. We've learned some things slowly and some things quickly. And so I wanted to ride more than anything. And back then I didn't really see any pathways. I didn't understand how to get anywhere I wanted to go. And I didn't see where this all could go. And I think that that's something that so many people have worked so hard for in the years since. I worked really hard on this too. I think a lot of people see pathways now that I couldn't comprehend. I decided to focus on school, all of the things that I learned in the barn and all of being a working student and being a groom and all the discipline, applied really well to school. I was extremely successful and quickly at college, and then PhD at Berkeley. I got my PhD at age 24 in a program that averages over 6 years to complete in a PhD program. So, and
that's in chemistry, right?
In chemistry, yep.
Yes. No joke there.
And I really credit my time at the barn for being successful in school. I would see, people procrastinate or people struggle with things, and the barn really trains you. You wake up in the morning, you get to work. You wake up early, you get things done. And I just apply that over and over and over again. And it worked really well for me in school. Towards the end of my PhD, I really missed the horses. I wasn't riding at all. I'm very focused. I do a lot of projects well, but I don't do a lot of things well, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I once I go whole hog in the same vein, I'm pretty intense. And I was really missing riding, but I wasn't sure how to kind of bring it back into my life. And, through a couple things, I was able to start and go, and social media was just starting. And I saw this as this educational pathway of, we can have access for people growing up like me who were obsessed and didn't have access and couldn't figure out how to get things done. Live streams opening up was so amazing to me as someone who's always wanted to learn about the sport. And I ended up being like totally randomly, I ended up being at a horse show, and someone that I knew sort of posted online that they didn't have anyone to cover the Grand Prix for them that night, and could anyone do journalism coverage of the Grand Prix? And like a random Facebook post, and I was like, I can do that. And I'd never taken a journalism class in my life, but I'd written a lot of science journalism. And I was published in a lot of scientific magazines, not just peer-reviewed journals, but also scientific magazines about, articles and stuff. So I figured I could do it. And it really was one of those like pivotal moments. I got in and was asking all these people's questions that I would have died to talk to. And I was like, oh, and it was so educational for me. I was asking questions. I was genuinely curious about why did you write it this way or that way? And then, how'd you decide to do the inside of the bend and do 4 here and the jump off? Like, how did that make a difference? I was so into it, and I was back in, and I was like, this is how we educate people. And it was a complete light bulb moment. I was so excited, and slowly turned my life into that. Yeah, the Plaid Horse was, I didn't even know who owned it, but I called around. I started working for a number of publications, but no one would do things my way. And I was like, well, if I do this, it has to be my way. It has to be my thing, because I keep telling them what the right thing is to do. I'd be like, let's start a Facebook page. And they'd be like, no, social media is a fad. And I'd be like, I don't know, I think I'm right. And I got very fed up quickly of people not listening to me. And I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. But people are still asking me if I was like 12 years old. So I was like, I gotta do something that has a little bit of legs. I can't start something from scratch. But I also had very little money. So, all these things. I didn't know who owned the Plaid Horse. I called around until I got a phone number. I cold called her. I didn't read anything into it. When I asked her if she would sell, she said yes. I bought it on a mortgage. So I was able to make a small down payment and pay off every month for 3 years until the magazine was paid off. And here we are. I mean, it's just every day is just built from there. So it's this circuitous path. So I didn't know what I didn't know yet again. And at 25 years old, I had the reins to this, which a lot of people were horrified by, and I'm horrified by now looking back. But over, under, through, I've made every mistake in the book and lived to tell about it. And here I am.
Wow. Now, just an early question I had as you were telling that story. Is it just happen chance that you ended up in hunter jumpers because that's what your parents found in the phone book? Or was that your first start when you started lesson? Was it a hunter jumper program?
I started in a hunter jumper program. I did pony club a little bit, which back then was very eventing focused and didn't really have options. From what I understand about pony club now, they have a lot more tracks. And so I did a little bit of trying to get my feet wet and eventing there. I love the hunters so much because they are pretty orthogonal to my personality, which surprises people. Like I'm very gritty. I can like muscle through things. Like in terms of like my brain and my body, like I probably am like way better suited for jumpers because I'm like ferociously competitive. But the hunters are so hard, and perfectionism, it doesn't come naturally to me, and like to that degree, and it's so challenging and insanely difficult. And people tell me all the time, they're like, I hate the hunters because like if I chip at jump one, you can never rescue it. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like it is so, it's art. Like, and it's the standards are the standards, and there's no leeway, and it's impossibly difficult. And I'm super into that because you'll never achieve it. Like you will pursue your whole life for this artistic vision that you will never achieve, and you go at it anyways. And I think that's like kind of the ultimate bravery.
hmm I agree. I like putting it that way. That sounds fab. Love that. Now, don't want to get ahead of myself here. Now, I know it's not just the Plaid Horse magazine. You've got the Plaidcast. You've got like a whole plaid life going on. So tell us about the other little pieces and also about your in-person plaid chats, and then we'll talk horses because I know we'll get lost there, I'm sure. So,
Absolutely. I was having this discussion yesterday of like, I've done more projects and failed at more things that I like literally can't even remember. I've tried so many things and so many side projects within this, and I've learned so much from all of them. And I failed at so many things. So right now what we have, we started the Plaidcast almost a decade ago, which is crazy. And I asked everyone that I knew in the entire industry to have a podcast because I just wanted to listen to one. And there was nothing in the hunter jumper space. And I told everyone that they should do it. And everyone was like, no. And I was like, fine, if no one else will do it, I'm going to do it. And I was so scared and timid and like didn't know what to say. And it was really so hard for me in the beginning. I like dreaded it. I dreaded booking guests. I dreaded emailing people. I dreaded actually going on. I dreaded all of it literally for years. Probably the first 5 years, I dreaded every single episode. But it started to have the effect that I wanted. People are like, oh, that was so interesting. And, when I gained confidence really slowly, and there weren't many podcasts out then. And I think that's a kind of an important thing. Like, you either need to be first or you need to be really good. And I was first, so I didn't have to be really good. People gave me some leeway because they didn't know what the expectations were. And people grew with me, and we had so many great guests, and it was achieving the vision I wanted, even if it was hard for me. And so I kind of kept at it. And so we have never been late or missed a Friday in over 435 Fridays. We have never once been late by a minute putting that podcast out. We have a great group working on it, and we are so disciplined about it, and I love that. And I say to people all the time, and anyone listening, if you want to put out a magazine, if you want to put out a blog, if you want to put out a podcast, like, absolutely anyone can do it. Get it. Like, the hard part truly is to do it over and over and over and over and have that consistency and that quality and never make a mistake. And so I would say probably 4 or 5 years ago, I started to like enjoy it. Like, I hit this like turning point where, I was probably over 300 episodes in by that point, at least. And I was like, oh, like, this is fun. This conversation is like genuinely, kind of back to that very first conversation. This conversation is genuinely interesting to me. And I think that's when I really started to hit my stride, and our numbers went up massively. Too, at that point, as more people, in the beginning, it was like people didn't even know what a podcast was and what time does it air. So we really grew with our audience, and that was such a special thing. On social media, we've grown with our audience, and that's been so special. And then I always wanted to do in-person events. Running live events is its totally own beast, like a skill set I do not have. And it requires a lot of confidence that even just doing this doesn't require. And so I think I both held myself back in that I didn't have the time or the effort or the energy to like kind of get started in that level. And then I think as I was starting to get there, the pandemic happened. And so it was kind of a natural break. So I definitely had wanted to do like in-person events for like 9 years. And I try to be at the part of the industry where people aren't but need to be, if that makes sense, in my opinion. And so in the early days, like when no one was on social media, we were there, trying to lead the way on the platform. When no one was on podcasts, we were there leading the way. And now we're so online that we're so lost in person that I'm trying to like circle back and lead the way.
Bring us back to people.
Have relationships. And young people tell me, they're like, it's so stressful, like that you kind of don't get to edit what you're going to say, and you're just standing there in front of someone. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the magic of it. It's like real. You can't edit. It's so authentic. So it's really important to me that we have networking hours before, and everyone gets to meet everyone. We have the podcast live with a studio audience, and everyone gets to watch. They get to ask questions in real time. The speakers have no idea what they're going to ask, so that's really fun and really real, and people can ask anything they want. And then for the ones in Connecticut, we have an after party at my house, and everyone just kind of hangs out at my kitchen table and talks horses. And you have conversations in person that you don't have by text, you would never have by social media. It's so special. I love it. And we really try to bring in guests who are going to be willing and engaged, willing to meet with fans, sign autographs, pose for pictures, answer questions individually. So all of this is, this is my home community. I live here in Connecticut, and like, let's bring the best of the best here and see what magic happens.
Nice. And you have several of those dates coming up in Connecticut, but you also have in the past, and I'm assuming in the future, again, you do it at different shows as well around the country. Is that true? Yeah.
Yep. So we just had our first podcast live in November, and then we have a season of 8 in Connecticut this year, and then we did one in Wellington this winter. We're planning on going back and doing that again. This coming winter, we're going to be at the Greer School in October. We were at the Madeira School in April of this year. We're going to be at Spy Coast Farm during Pony Finals on August 6th. So just kind of getting our tour dates. We have a couple in the works that we haven't announced yet. So I'm just seeing who's excited about this also and joining forces.
Yeah. Bring it to the West Coast.
We're
Bring
in
it
talks.
this.
We're in talks for
Yeah.
sure. We're talking to people for
Good.
sure. And
Good. Excellent.
like I said, it's managing an in-person event, especially like when people are really addicted to being comfortable in their own home right now. So getting in-person events going, I mean, this is no small feat. And
yeah.
And I want it everywhere all the time right now. But that's not how these things work. I keep reminding myself, but it's hard because that's what I want.
You'll get there. You'll get there. Okay, so let's dive over to horses. Can you tell us about your personal horses and ponies? That's a whole, I know that kind of is its own little department. We may get there, but tell us about your horses and ponies.
Yeah. So my parents being non-horse people in some of their wisdom, my mom's college roommate when I was 11 gave to me an unbroke 2-year-old. And my mom was like, yeah, great.
Perfect.
And in like the fairy tale, I still own her. And she is retired. I started her and backed her and did a lot with her. She ended up getting leased for many years. And I always say to people that she taught me how to train a young pony. She taught me how to manage a middle-aged pony, and she's taught me how to be a steward for an old pony. I mean, I got her in 2000. I've had her over 25 years. Wow. And she's 27 now. Yep, she's 27 this year. And she's happily retired at my friend's farm. And she has lived such a big life and has had such a big impact on me. So she really shaped a lot of this because when I was young, I rode what I could, which was mostly youngsters, and I had no perspective. Definitely, I think the more horses of all ages that all of us are exposed to, kind of the better decisions we can make. So I ended up thinking I was a genius after this, and got a few more ponies. Again, I quickly learned what I didn't know, and kind of ups and downs with that, but mostly a ton of fun, a ton of success. And I would say by and large, I just am able to have fun with it. Ponies make enough money that I can keep doing it. And one of the ones we're campaigning right now, I bred, and I see the process and the whole pipeline as their whole lives. And then with the people that we invest in, and we talk about this a lot with importing horses and stuff, if you only import 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, if someone does have a foal, you don't have the farriers with the knowledge on how to deal with that, the vets with the knowledge on how to deal with that. You don't have the people with the data sets you need because that's not what they see in their community. And so I feel like the more young people we can teach to train young animals, the better our sport is, the more we can have these systems and these groups of people that we can work together for decades. That's where the strength in our sport to me comes from, is a collaboration and these kind of lifelong relationships. And everyone wants a hack for this world. How do you get ahead? And I always say that the only secret is truly long-term collaboration, really lifelong relationships. And I think having the privilege to do this for these ponies has been so much fun and so cool to be part of their careers. So it's really kind of a fun project, and I'm enjoying myself a lot. And we always have some fun prospects, and we always have some on their way down. And, but that management, I think, of different phases of the career has really helped me when I was finally able to get my own horses. And that's, and that's why I bring that up.
So for someone who is maybe outside of the hunter jumper world, just give us a quick overview of what you do with ponies, because they may not even understand what you're talking about. Someone that's outside of hunter jumper. So tell us what you do with the ponies that you're not actually riding and showing yourself. Explain a little bit about that.
I don't ride or show the ponies myself. Ponies, because kids advance in ability and grow in size so quickly, a lot of people lease ponies instead of purchasing them as their children are coming up through the ranks. And from the other side, I like owning them because then I know that they have a soft place to land in their retirement and that they're taking care of their whole careers. And I kind of never have to worry about them. So for me, it's been a fun way to be involved in the industry. All my ponies are with Emily Ellick in Wisconsin. She's amazing. She has a bajillion ponies, anyone who knows her. And any kid that shows up to her barn, she will teach to ride for free. Like if you show up and you want it, she does that. And I really want to support that. So I get to be part of this whole ecosystem that's amazing. Everyone on Emily's team works so closely together, the vets, the farriers. There are all kinds of body workers. There are all kinds of people there all the time. And it's this group of women that just have an incredibly collaborative mindset. I just love being part of it. I love supporting it. And so the ponies go literally their whole life stages. Emily breeds also. She has a whole system where they get started and do their pony kindergarten. And then they slowly build on that. Eventually they start jumping. They do the green pony hunters. They get leased out, preferably every once in a while something's sold, but that's never the intention. And then, as they, kind of come down in their twilight years and we can kind of manage what's going on and what programs they go to and how to keep them the most successful. And then we make sure that they get retired or, if there's something we want to breed or, we have lots of options that way, but it's kind of stewardship of their entire lives is the goal and having that pipeline there.
I think that is so awesome. I mean, of course, I think that's awesome for the ponies. Clearly, I'm always thinking about that stuff, but I think it's really awesome, like you were saying, that is what the program is doing, and that is what these students can see happening. Not every student needs to maybe go the path that you did and get the 2-year-old themselves, but they're at least exposed to the process and what it looks like, and like this is what it looks like to own and care and love a pony for a
Yep.
whole life. Even if you only have it for this bit, this is what we do here. I think that's really awesome. Now tell us about your full-sized horse.
So I started riding sporadically as an adult, but I never started riding consistently. And the way I grew up, as I said, once I started my pony, I got a lot of other people offered to let me ride their green ponies, which I was so excited about. And so I had probably broke about 30 ponies by the time I was 16, and rode a ton of youngsters, but it also meant I was like not really jumping and not doing a lot of stuff. And then I focused on school. So I kind of came back to it as an adult, like that, like adult, timid, but also not really having a huge face in this either. Which is, and then not having any time or money, like really to devote to this. So I didn't actually ride much like the early years at all. And every once in a while I would like sit on something with a friend. I was kind of in this like weird spot where, but I studied the sport and I learned what I could. And then I wasn't sure if I would ever ride, honestly. I wasn't sure if that was like my place. And in a completely random story, I saw this horse out in California, and I was at another horse show in Pennsylvania a couple weeks later, and these people were like, we need this horse and it needs like all these weird laundry checklist of things, and I was like, oh, I know this horse. This horse does exist. And I introduced the people, and they ended up buying the horse. And the people in California was Balmoral, and they were like, can we do something for you? Can we pay you? And I was like, no, I'm an amateur and I'm just here to help. And they're like, okay, if we can ever do anything. And I was like, well, I'd love to ride with you one day. And I just like blurted it out. And again, these are these like kind of landmark moments. And I never expected to say anything, and I never expected anything to happen. And then maybe like 6 months later, I saw them at Thermal. And, I talked to Tracy, and she was like, okay, well, like, how are things? Okay, great, bye. And then she walked away, and she walked like 10 or 15 feet away. And then she whipped back, and she was like, wait, you were going to ride, weren't you? And I was like, yes. And she's like, great. Okay. And then she like looks at her phone, and she's like, okay, Saturday morning, hunter ring 6, 8 a.m., be dressed. And I was like, okay. And she's like, and then she goes, you don't need to practice, right? And I was like, no, I don't want to be high maintenance. And I hadn't ridden in like a year. And it was serendipity. So this horse I met that day, Sunday, he's now retired with me. And I got to become the steward of him in his retirement, which meant a lot to me later. And I had never I just got on and I just did it. And this horse is incredible and he's completely made and he's amazing. I'd never really ridden a made horse in my life. It was interesting to me how much I could take all those years of watching and understanding and knowing what I was trying to do, along with a made horse and great coaching, and make something happen. Again, completely randomly, there were like 30 people in the division. We ended up being champions. It was so strange, to me. I'd never won anything. So I was like, what is happening? But it opened my eyes to, again, pathways. I had been like, well, I can't ride all the time, so I can't do this. And I was like, okay, well, there are situations where I cannot ride all the time and I can figure out how to do something. And from kind of that eye opening, I was like, how can I structure my life to try to do this a little more? And and for years after that, I was still unsuccessful because it's hard and I still hadn't practiced. And then Emily called me one day, and she like never calls anyone. She's the elusive horse trainer who's in the barn all the time and never answers her phone. She called me, and it was early in the morning, and she was like, so do you want to start riding? And I was like, eventually, like at some point, like when I have time, when I get my life together, I'll start riding. And she's like, so there's this horse on the trailer on the way here, and he's for you. And she'd never asked me to buy anything in years. And she's like, I think he's the one. And I was like, okay. And that's all I needed. And everyone's like, everyone's obsessed with all this stuff, but it's like when you're with people you trust. I didn't have a picture or video or anything. I was like, great, let's do it. So I flew out, and we had already bought him. She paid the money and I paid her back because I didn't even have the cash in my hands, and got him. I tried him. We called it a post-purchase trial because he had already been bought, but I hadn't tried him. Wasn't vetted, wasn't tried, just like showed up. And it took her a while to kind of get him where she wanted him. And that ended up being Ruben. And he's been the horse of a lifetime for me. He's been the biggest challenge. He's been something that's, I always say he's the hardest thing I can do because I've always been able to do it, but it's always pushed me to my absolute limit to get it done.
Mm-hmm. And so how long ago was that you got him?
I think almost over 6 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic was hard. And then I still, Emily always says that I have like 1 year of practice on him. Like in 6 years, I've ridden him 1 year's worth.
That sounds like a good guy, huh? And in a good program. And in a good program, obviously, to make that possible. So you've had him 6 years now, and you went through the pandemic. Tell us where we went from there.
I actually, and I hadn't written too much about this, but I put it in the July issue. I qualified for Capital Challenge for the Adult Hunter Classic the first year of the pandemic, and I wasn't ready, but I thought since I qualified that I was ready. And it like kind of could have gone either way, and it did not go the good way. I fell off twice in the schooling ring. I never made it into the show ring. The sport is so humbling, and and it's and this was like early years with him. I would fall off a lot. Like I fell off of this horse so much, and I would have like a beautiful round and fall off in the next round, and then have a beautiful round, and then and sometimes I'd still be champion anyways because I would like win and fall off and then have enough points. And so it's that Instagram versus reality thing. And he's such a wonderful horse for me because he is very literal and he doesn't hold a grudge. So if I make mistakes at the 3 foot, it's really easy for him. He can just cover that. But he also he doesn't help me out. Like if I don't do something right, he's like, oh, that was a mistake you made. But he doesn't hold a grudge either. So I can screw up down to the jump and he'll come back around and jump it again. But he doesn't know what you meant. Some horses, you get to the end of the ring and they know you're going to ask him for a lead change. He has never anticipated a lead change in his life.
He's in the moment. That's what he is.
He's so in the moment. He jumps into every line. He has no idea. The horses that have done the hunters their whole lives, are like, oh, this is a 5. He jumps into every line and he's like, how many?
That was adorable. That was adorable. Okay. And now I know you recently showed at Devon. So that must have been a big, exciting moment for you. I can only imagine.
It was a really interesting, scary year in a lot of ways with him. He's 18 this year, so I had always wanted to do Devon, but I said, if we don't do it this year, we're not doing it. I'm not shipping him 1,000 miles when he's 19. Like this is either we get it done or we don't this year. He's aged really well. Like he's more sound now than he was when he was like 11. And he looks good. He's barefoot. He's on night turnout year round. So he's out 16 hours a day. He goes out with his herd of ponies, and he plays, and he's on a mostly grain-free diet with ration balancers. Like he lives his best pony life. Emily really from day one was like, you need to figure it out to do less if you want this horse to last. So we stopped doing warm-up classes a long time ago. We don't do warm-up divisions. We don't do warm-up classes day of. We don't even enter the classic a lot of times. Also, sometimes when we enter it, we don't make it. That's fine too. And so we really try to preserve the number of classes. I can't get out to practice that much, which is fine with him. And so he's kept really fit with his legs. He treadmills 6 days a week, and he's out a lot, and he moves around a lot, but he doesn't jump very much. He's not kept very jumping fit. And every year we've tried to do less with him. In the beginning, he's very dressage bred. He kind of would forget how to jump in between things. But as soon as we were pretty confident that he wouldn't forget how to jump, then he started getting more and more time off jumping. It used to be every time they rode him, they would jump little things, like a foot tall thing. So just keep reminding him what jumping was, because he needed that. But then in 2024, he took 3 full months off of jumping, and then came back and was normal. So we really loved that. So we try to keep him that he's like very fit, but we can just kind of pull him out and not make a big deal, and do the adult amateurs, which he's very athletic. So it's like pretty easy for him still, even at this age. And we have kind of been going along on this, and the 3-3 is hard because he's never wanted to cover for my mistakes. And we've stayed in a 3-foot so much because if I practiced, I probably, he definitely has a scope, but like he's just uninterested in managing if I make a mistake at the 3-3, and like there's no reason that's totally unfair to do that to him. So it's at stepping up to the 3-3 to do Devon, and all this stuff. So we showed in September and December, and he was lovely, and he won, and he was brilliant, and we were kind of on it and kind of practicing. And then January, he was, we were wondering if he was a little bit not himself, but it was one of those weeks where it was like -20 outside, and then the horse show's heated inside, and sometimes he has a little temperature regulation, so we didn't overthink it. And then in February, he just started losing a ton of muscle mass really quickly, and he's been looked really good, and he's been fit and strong this whole time. Couldn't figure it out, and then when he was uncomfortable and he started sleeping really hollowed out with his neck straight up, and so he's not helping his own posture. He's uncomfortable and not helping his own posture, and he is like the happiest horse you've ever met. And his eyes he's always full of life. He's so in the moment, and his eyes dulled, and he stopped playing with the ponies, even though he was turned out. He would just kind of stand around and just not him. And everyone, vets and body workers and everyone at the farm was going through everything and racking their brain and what changed, and was it cold, and was it, because normally he loves the cold, and couldn't figure out what was going on. I ended up out there in March while I had a meeting, and he was really back, so I didn't ride at all. I think it was early April before we ended up testing him for Lyme disease, which where he lives is not prevalent at all. That's not something we normally test for, but it was kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel, and he tested positive for Lyme and EPM and was in pretty bad shape by then. So he started treatment for both, and it was amazing. He started treatment on Monday for the Lyme, and on Thursday, Emily said he was walking around and was social again, with her and with the other horses. And then she went to the horse show and came back Sunday night, and she has this adventure paddock with all these steep hills so that they can run and play up and down. And she said as she was pulling the trailer into the farm, he dove down the steep side of the hill on the adventure paddock and bit the 2-year-old stud colt in the withers and was tossing his head all around and being his normal playful self. And she called and she's like, he's back. And so there was a lot of fitness and a lot of postural work, but it was truly incredible once diagnosed how quickly he had that turning point. But then now we have all these shows, and he hasn't been ridden, and all of these things. So it was a really interesting, like every day was so day to day. Cause like by the time he got to Kentucky, he hadn't really jumped. But again, he's been like, he didn't have the cardiovascular fitness, but he had been out the whole, his legs were really tight and fit. And every day we just kind of did as little as we could, and monitored him. And he was really happy. He jumped really well in Kentucky. And it was, how many days can we give him off? How can we keep working on the postural rehab every day? Every time he's sleeping, go in and put his head back to where it should be. And we shipped him home every single day from Kentucky. And then when we got to Devon, so that he could graze all night on the hill, and walk around all night. So he was walking around more hours and he was in a stall, even though he was at the horse show, and like every little detail. And every day we're like, okay, well, how does he feel? Like, can we do something? And he just blew us away. He was grand. Hunter champion the first weekend in Kentucky in the adults. He won 2 classes the second week. And then he goes into Devon, like having not really been ridden, and we're doing as little as we possibly can, like literally no prep, and he just walks into Devon and he does it. And I mean, that was mind blowing for me, that this horse could do that. And he did it for me. And, now he's had another, I think he's just getting started riding again, and we'll see how he's feeling. We wanted to make sure he had some more time off to be out in the paddock. And now he gets ridden in the field, and, he's stretching back out again. But it was a truly incredible, terrifying process, but also like we've been working on that trust and that doing as little as possible for so many years, that he just walked into Devon and was like, oh, I can do this without doing anything great.
Yeah, gave him a healthy body and he's like, I got this. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is great. So you're getting up there in age with him, and you had said you weren't going to try for Devon again. So do you have future goals for him at this
Um,
point showing?
I want to do the adult amateurs as long as I can with him.
Hmm.
He loves Kentucky, probably because we trailer him home every night to turn out with his friends. But I don't think I'll show him in the winter really anymore, because I don't want to body clip him. And, I just kind of like make a few changes to make his life easier, like that. But yeah, I would love to keep showing him in the 3 foot as long as he wants to. And I'm hoping that if we can keep him sound and happy, like I'm hoping that can be a long time. And because we
Hmm.
do so little prep, like I think it's going to be doable. Hopefully I have a few years even left doing that. We might have the points. So, I mean, I might try for the National Horse Show. That was kind of my 2 big goals were Devon and the National Horse Show. And I don't know, we'll see. The entries are due in a month and we'll see how we feel. I might throw one in there.
Sounds
But it's
like at
just,
this point, your expectation was to be doing what he needs, obviously. I'm sure you always have been, but he's getting older, so it seems like everything is a bonus at this point,
oh yeah.
just what he wants to give you. Great. Sounds
Yep.
like that's a good plan. Let's talk a little bit about the sport and industry around the sport, if that's all right.
Yep.
This will be kind of a big question, but that's okay, I think. How would you like to see the industry evolve? Um, and if you were in charge, what is the first thing you would change or add?
I think everyone needs to act like everything is all of our problems. There's no someone else. Nothing is someone else's problem. Nothing is someone else's to deal with. There's no work that's above, below. There's things that need to be done, and we all need to take a crack at it. Um, I think we all know what the right thing is to do, and we all need to set up systems and infrastructure so that it's very easy to do the right thing and really incentivize people that way. I think we get so lost on internet dog piles and we get so lost on individuals. I would love to get at systems more.
Hmm.
It's been so easy to attack this like current, everywhere I go, people are talking to me about the euthanasia drug. And I'm like sitting here being like, okay, like it's horrible. And we're talking about a few people, like, whereas tens of thousands of people could do better by their horses by making more educated decisions. And the fact that we get like obsessed talking about 3 or 4 people and then we kind of lose the messaging. I would love to see every single person lift up by 5 to 10%. I think that would impact so many more horses' lives than to do 100% attack on 3 or 4 people. Um,
Hmm.
And just from like a practical standpoint, every horse can have a better life because people spend more time at the barn. And this is the part that's hard for me. Like, I'm a complete hypocrite because I spend all my time working. I don't spend the time at the barn. If you want to get good and want to get good at making good decisions, you need to spend all your time at the barn. And I rely on and listen to and, completely follow along with what those people in my life tell me. I align with the smartest, best people I possibly can, and I listen to them. And not to say I don't ask questions. I ask everything. I ask every question I have all the time. But most people are really, when it doesn't feel accusatory, they're really willing to engage. Most people that are committed to learning and educating themselves. And it's not to say that Emily and Ruben's whole care team and all my horses and all my ponies, it's not to say that they've never made a mistake. Everyone is doing the best they can with the data they have at the time. It's how do you continue growing and changing. And I think the longer I'm in this, the more I respect the people who have grown so much over the last 10 years. And then you look around and there are people who have not grown their knowledge base at all in the last 10 years. And it's tough to respect those people, even if they do know a lot. So even this Lyme disease thing, like they will never go this long again without testing for Lyme disease. It was eye-opening for everyone. It's not something that's common in Wisconsin. It's not something they'd ever seen before. And, their data set's updated now. They're all going to behave differently. We all know better, do better. I mean, that's a very simple example, but I also think that we all want there to be an answer. There's no the answer to anything. There's no the answer to humans, to horses, to exercise, to eating, to performance, to psychology. And education is not and will never be scalable. Educating humans, educating horses, this is not scalable. It's an individual thing. People with bigger data sets or with more experience can do it faster, but there are no shortcuts. Everyone has to jump in. They have to do the work. What was your question? What's one thing you would start with?
Yes. Yeah. So the first thing you would implement if you were in charge or modify.
I mean, I would take away everyone's phones the second they got to the barn and basically require more barn time, set guidelines. If you want to be good, this is how much time you should be spending at the barn without your phone.
Hmm.
I think that observation of the horses, I think phones have made us worse stewards of animals. We're not paying as much attention. We don't know what's going on as much. I look at the kids who don't know what's going on and rush to, get on their phones the second something's done. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing. One of the things I notice about the internet all the time is like anyone does anything and everyone rushes to tell them how horrible and impossible and hard it is. And I bring this up with a lot of people of like, I don't know if it's necessary to tell people how hard something's gonna be. Like they're gonna go at it and they're gonna kind of fail or they're not. But this over advice culture we have, get in with people that you like, that you trust, vet their opinions on things. No one's gonna be perfect, but vet how they handle situations. I say to people all the time that I trust people way more after there's been some sort of massive screw up because you see how they handle it and you see what their takeaways are from it. And, if you have a massive screw up and we work together to put things back together, like I trust you 1,000,000% more than if nothing's ever happened in our relationship. And so find people that really mesh with you and what you're doing and buy in and hook, line, and sinker and don't go, to the internet quarterbacks or don't go to the other people like asking for random things for people who don't know your horse or don't know your situation. Or, I've had so many people tell me that I can't do stuff or that I don't have the right horse or, people unaffiliated with the situation and that I could like not be as timid as I am and I could like learn to ride better. And, and all those things are true, but like they would require practice that I'm not doing. So they're not true right now for me. And I think that peanut gallery of the internet that we all live with is just so detrimental to progress, like big progress.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The internet is so amazing. Obviously, we would both agree for our own reasons how amazing and helpful the internet is for education and networking. And, so many things are so important and great, but there is nothing like, even if we don't talk about internet bullies and things like that side of it, even when it comes to internet courses and all this stuff. It's like it is not the same as having someone look at your specific situation and build in a prescription for you, or you know what I mean? Like you cannot duplicate that by, I don't care how many courses you watch or which course it is. It's not the same as like working with someone. That is its whole other thing. I think that's really important. I sure loved what you said about everyone getting 5 to 10% better. I actually think that might be the thing. You said there is no thing, that might be the thing. It's a big blanket thing, but that might be the thing because, and we say everybody, it's everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. And I think it sounds like the people you work with, like this is their way of life. I know it's my way of life, and I know I'm happy to have, through the internet, mind you, found more and more people who that is their way of life, of just always learning, always getting better, not getting stuck on this is how we do it, and we're really great, and this is how we do it. So, you know, anyway, everyone
And
5 to
it's
10% better.
it's compounded interest too. If you get 1% better a year, like your whole life, it grows and it's compounded interest. If you get 5% better every year, you're growing 5% on 5%. Like it's
Hmm.
real impact and real change for horses.
And I think one of the things that's interesting is how the internet and social media, it can play into providing education. It also can play into the mindset of we just pose and look, we're doing it. Like it kind of gives a way for people to not even have to think about getting better. Obviously there's students that are always taking lessons and things, but then there comes this level of people who I think just quit trying, and it's just all about that image. Look, we're good. Look at us. Anyway, so no phones, 5-10% better. That's gonna
Yep.
change the world, Piper, I'm pretty sure. Normally, this is where I would ask you what kind of lessons horses have helped you learn out of the saddle. I think you have told us a lot about how horses have helped you learn a lot of things out of the saddle. Sometimes not by choice because you can't ride as much as you maybe would want to. Have we missed any important lessons that you've learned out of the saddle through horses?
I think I do think though that even though I don't get to ride very much, I still am advancing in my ability and skill, which is very interesting to me. That I'm very all in. There's no mercy when I ride. It's still really intense, and I think it's I think we get all or nothing. We get all or nothing on people. It's back to that 5 to 10%. So many people want people to be 100% or nothing, or they won't bother with them. And I would rather engage with people and have them improve by 5 to 10% than throw them away. And I think same thing with the riding. Even if you can't ride much or don't have a lot of opportunity, being all in and learning how to mentally, physically, emotionally be all in when you're there. That's something that applies to everything else in your life when you have those skills. And it has truly surprised me how much success I've been able to have without ever really doing this that much, and how much success I've been able to have without getting that practice time. And I study the sport compulsively. I'm always watching. I'm always at the schooling ring listening. I'm always paying attention. I know exactly what the course designer's intentions are, what the judges are looking for, all of these little details. And I hope that's inspiring to young people, that you can learn so much by immersing yourself in what you can control and what you can do and what you can be a part of.
Love it. Um, Now, corner turners are people, horses, or events that change the trajectory of our lives. You have certainly mentioned some different events and horses and people that have changed your life a bit. Are there any other impactful corner turners that come to mind for you?
I think the biggest thing is I give everyone I meet a chance, no matter what has happened to me prior, no matter who's hurt me, no matter what has happened. I really truly try to give everyone a chance to grow and be part of my life. And I'm super intense, and most people think that's fun and then don't want to be friends with me because it's hard. And that's fine with me. I'm not changing. But I think that if there was, kind of back to that, if there was one thing, and corner turners, I wish more people would give more people a chance. So many people say to me, oh, my last trainer screwed me, or my last customer screwed me, or, this person, it ended up going all wrong or all haywire, and treat everyone new like you've never been hurt before. Treat every horse you get on like they're great. Give everyone the shot to be amazing. And they might prove you otherwise, and that's fine. And then you'll make decisions based on that. But I think if we all give each other, humans, horses, etc., a little bit more of a chance, give everyone the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to do good and they're trying their best, I think our sport would be so much better, and we'd advance the good people so much faster. And, I think very few people are as committed as you want them to be or aspire for them to be, but that doesn't mean they're bad people or that you can't have them be part of your life or you can't have fun with them. But I think giving more people a shot, regardless of what's happened to you in the past, I think. And that's something I really share with Emily. Like, no matter what happens at the barn, every new person that walks in, she treats every young professional that comes into her life, she treats with respect and dignity and not fear. She's brave. She bravely offers them opportunity. She bravely puts herself out there, and she gets screwed a lot. Like, I've watched her over the years get so screwed by so many people, and I'm like, ugh. And I think that's one of the bravest things we can do for our people, for our horses, is go out there and be brave, even though last time wasn't ideal.
And I think that is easier to do when we force ourselves. Sometimes we have to force ourselves to prioritize connection and like talking to someone. It's really easy to be irritated or mad about thing that went down or something someone did. If you never see them face to face ever again, it's very easy to stay stuck right there. Go have a
Yep.
conversation. I bet in 10
Yep.
minutes you're not going to be so pissed off. More than likely.
Yeah,
More than likely.
absolutely. And also, like, there are a lot of people that have wronged me in ways that, like, they know and I know that, like, we're not ideal, but like they don't deserve a life sentence for this. Like, I think, okay, like maybe I don't, spend some time not hanging out with them, or, have natural distance or something. But I find, we are such a small community. We all have the same interests. We all care about horses so much. And we all, again, I truly believe everyone is doing the best they can with the data they have at the time. I think some people have very skewed data, but everyone is trying. I will give them that. Everyone is trying. And so when you come at it like that, of how do we help move things in the right direction, like, giving people a life sentence or hating them forever. People bring up to me things that other people said to them, like in the 90s. And they'll be like, well, so-and-so in like 1997 said this to me. And I'm like, excuse me? What?
Yes, and how much have you changed since 1997? Just saying. We may
How
have
do you
all
even
evolved.
remember that? If I remembered all the horrible things people said to me from like 10 minutes ago, I'd be just like flat out. But yeah, I just don't remember any of them. But yeah, I think the more we can give people a chance, and even if people wrong you, like, I mean, I don't know, I kind of think about it like prison terms, like even if they truly have wronged you, have people done a 1-year sentence, a 5-year sentence, a 10-year sentence, like very few people have truly done life sentence worth of, negativity to me.
And I absolutely think for anyone who thinks we have gotten derailed off the horse track, we haven't. Because if you can connect with a person and practice that skill of like, let that go. Don't be mad at that person. Connect with that person again. See what happens. It will make you a better horse person, guaranteed.
Yeah, ask them to do better. Give them a book. Everyone knows I just leave like a trail of books everywhere I go. I'm like, please read. Whether you've rated me or wronged me, please read. We can all do our 5 to 10% better. Pick up a book. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Okay, here's the most important question of the day. If your fairy godmother granted you three horse-related wishes, what would they be?
Um, I will become completely controversial and say that I have none. I truly don't. I have 3 horses right now, and my non-horse husband was asked at a party why I need 3 horses, and he replied, which I love so much. He said, "We own past, present, and future horse." So yeah, we have Sunday, who's mostly retired. Ruben, who is 18 and very present. We have my young horse, who's 12, Taco, who I'm still struggling with. I have an shown outside yet. We've shown inside a few times. I'm struggling a lot. It'll be fine. In like 6 or so years, I think we're going to really nail it.
Yes.
And I love what I do. I love the Plaid Horse. I love all the things I'm up to. And if I rode more, I wouldn't be able to do it. I get to go to the coolest horse shows in the world and watch the people who are absolutely exceptional at this sport. And I mean, like, it's easy to sit there and say, oh, would I show more? Would I ride more? And I don't think I would, because I love the Plaid Horse so much. And I love the connection with people. Tomorrow we have 30 pony clubbers coming over to my house for a book reading and to talk about becoming authors. And I couldn't do that if I rode more. Like, these are all choices, and we have 24 hours in a day. And
Well, that's our wish. We need more than 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
Bam.
Yep. Bam. Okay, there you go.
Maybe
And
if we have
I've been
more than
riding.
24 hours, then we can go from 5 to 10% to 10 to 15%. There we go.
Exactly. Okay, there you go. You fixed it. Okay.
Summed it up for you. There you go.
Summed it up.
Okay.
Love it.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time today. What is the best way for people to find you? I feel like you're everywhere. They can probably find you anywhere, huh?
Yeah. Our Plaidcast in-person schedule is the plaidhorse.com/plaidcast. So come find me at any of those. Tickets are free at all events. We would love to see you. Come for networking hour, meet people, sit at my kitchen table while people are like giving people free horses and all the other things that have happened. I love to have big conversations. I have people over for dinner. I'll change my wish. If you can have people over for dinner at your house, please do it and have good conversations. Please, everyone, do that. I have a big dinner. I probably have 10 to 16 at my house for dinner once a week. We talk about horse things and we get into the nitty gritty. And I love the conversations we have. So yeah, if you are in Connecticut and want to come hang out, like, reach out. My phone number is online. My email's online. I want to have big conversations. If you don't agree with something I'm doing, I want to hear about it. I want to discuss it. I want to do my 5 to 10% better every day. And I think people get so afraid. I will have these conversations with you. And I think that's a lot of times people will be like, well, you did this wrong. And things aren't binary to me. Like, there are a lot of anything you tell me you think that I did wrong. I'm sure I've thought that too. I've weighed that. I've thought about it. I'm not impulsive, and I would love to have that discussion. I would love to go through my rationale. I would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe I approached something wrong. I want to learn more. I want to do better. And I think the more engaged we all are with each other, the better the magazine is, the better our industry is, and ultimately the better our horses' lives are, which is a goal.
Love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Visit TamaraLeeBarrett.com for more info and links to our socials. Remember to click follow or subscribe, rate the show, and share with a friend. Until next time, happy horsing.